boys are emotionally more vulnerable and they need the parents to pay a bit more attention, especially when the fathers are not there. Women desire to have men who are strong, men who are providers, not men who are depending on them. I've never seen a situation whereby the woman is providing for the man, taking care of him, and she respects him. Have you seen any? Have you seen any like that? Have you seen a family where a woman is providing, taking care of the man, and she respects that man, and she's happy? Have you ever seen that? She's happy. If she's pretending to respect the man, she's angry, bitter, and resentful. You know why? It's not because the women are bad. It's because that is against the natural order of things.
Get the point. Take a step forward.
Today, the topic I'm going to talk about is a topic that is very close to my heart. I was requested to speak about it, and I really think we need to speak about it. And this is on bringing up extraordinary sons. There's a trend that has really been disturbing me. There's a trend that has been disturbing me a lot. We know that the devil has always waged war against the boy child. We know during the time of Moses, we know that the sons of the Israelites, the Hebrew sons, were to be killed. We know during the time of Jesus that all the sons were to be killed. We know that. And many other times, even firstborn sons of the Egyptians were killed. So we know that the devil has been fighting the boys. That much we know. But one trend that I wanted to share that for me has been such a concern is when I see in church, I see very committed young men. They are serving the Lord, maybe they are singing, and they are doing many other things, but they don't seem, I think the sound, I don't know whether the sound is good. So I was saying that a concern I have seen is where you see young men who are very actively involved in the service, and they are in their late 20s, some of them are in their 30s. Unfortunately, a lot of them are living with their mothers. That for me is a concern. And some of them are not even on their feet. They are not taking care of themselves. They are depending on their parents or other people. Worse, others are even getting married and moving into the women's houses. That is a big concern to me. And that points to a fundamental issue that we need to address. I would wonder if my son will wake up one day and think it's okay to pack his bag and move into a woman's house. Please, that is not okay. I tell my sons that even if I'm dead, I will haunt you until you leave that woman's house. Of course, I know the dead know nothing. I'm just trying to show you the way it is very, very disturbing that some of them are even getting married in holy matrimony in church, and they are packing their things. Instead of the way we were used to, ladies pack their clothes and go, our sons are packing things to move into the girls' houses. And they will tell you it's because the girl is the one who has a better job. It's because she's living in Lavington. Me, I'm living in Kawangware, so it's better for us to go and live in Lavington. No. It is not okay. Si sawa kabisa. Even culturally speaking, in some of our cultures, a boy could not marry until they had a house. The first thing that the parent will ask a girl when she's saying that she's getting married, the first question even my mother asked me, does he have a house? They don't even ask about a job, whatever. Is he good looking? I don't know what. Does he have a house? Because where is he taking you? There are parents who even find it okay for their son to marry and bring a wife in their house. Hapana, you can't do that. Even if you have a 12-bedroom house, there is no way your son can marry and move into your house with his wife. Because there is no way you can live with your daughter-in-law and the story ends well. That story does not end well. I said in one of the radio stations and people insulted me. When I said that when you bring your wife and you are living with your mother in the same compound, you start fighting even over cockroaches. Imagine over cockroaches and chicken. Because they are saying this fat cockroach, me, I never had such a cockroach until she came to live with us, And this is because of our sons who are failing to launch. So it's a contradiction to the gospel. Especially when I see young men singing like, I'm not referring to these young men who have sung, but there are many of our young men who are in choirs and they sing. And I could see the way they captured our attention. They sing so well. But then they woke up in the morning to ask their mother for soap to go and shower. You didn't do that. Si sawa. You're waking up in the morning, Mom, there is no soap in the bathroom. Hapana, please. The way you are singing so well and you're using your talent, use it to take care of yourself. Be a man. Be man enough. Now, let me take you to what the Bible says. The book of Psalms chapter 144. The prayer has been made. Psalms chapter 144 verse 12, and it says that our sons may be as plants grown up in their youth, that our daughters may be as corner pillars polished after the similitude of a palace, that our sons may be as plants grown up in their youth, that our daughters may be as corner pillars polished after the similitude of a palace. We'll talk about our daughters next time, please. Today I'm talking about sons. So somebody may just take a clip, post it on the internet and say, I'm attacking sons and men. That's not what I'm doing. Today I was guided and I want us to talk about our sons. Our sons may grow as plants. Plants have roots. Have you ever seen a plant without roots? Plants have roots. And the plants that have roots that are deep, they're the ones that go high. So they have roots and then they go high. We have our young men who are struggling. And you will see our preteen sons are angry. They are throwing tantrums. You see our teenage boys in high schools are anxious. You see men in their 20s living with their mothers. And then you see middle-aged men walking out on families. They have created children. They are walking out on children. Some even tell their wives, because your family is well-to-do, you can ask them for some support for the children. Imagine you didn't ask for permission when you were creating these children. Did you ask for permission from your in-laws? You never asked for permission to create the children. Now you want to ask them to support. It is totally unacceptable. The Bible says if a man cannot provide for his family, he is worse than an infidel and he has denied the faith. Please leave church, go and work and provide the family for the family first, because that is in contradiction with the gospel. Let me share with you 2 stories that I have witnessed. One of them was a young man. He was being raised in this family. He was an only son. His father had died, so he was being raised as an only son. From an early age, there was something about this boy. He used to get angry and cry until the mother gives him something, even when he was in high school. He would cry until he hyperventilates. Have you seen people crying until they go until he has to be given whatever he needed? The mother would give him to the best of her ability. The father had died, was an only son. So the mother would give him whatever he needed. When this young man went to university, he would go and drink, then sit on the middle of the road. Drink, get drunk, sit on the middle of the road. He had a girlfriend within the university. And the mother would tell the girlfriend, go and get him, please. Go and get him. He would drink, leave his ID when he's in university. The mother would send money to the girlfriend to go and get him out of the police station and pay for him the alcohol where he has drunk. So he continued doing this way. Whatever the boy needed, he could get. But he was an intelligent boy. He completed with a first-class honors. He got a scholarship to study masters. Before then, he got a job with one of the top companies in this country. So he was working there. And the boy believed that whatever he needs, he will get it. So because the father had died when he was very young, so at that time now, the mother thought it was time to tell him some of the properties, whatever the dad had left. So this particular day was on a Friday. The mother told him, remember, he's doing his master's, he's a team lead, he's in his mid-20s, big company here in Kenya. So the mother said on that Friday, please come home. Now he's stable. Come home, we talk about some of the things that I want to share with you, which your father had left. So that Friday, this young man had seen a TV anchor, one of the TV anchors. And he had developed an attraction for this TV anchor. And he wanted to take her out. So he had proposed to her, online. So they were to meet for dinner. So what we don't know is whether she came or not. But he dressed in his, don't know, either a tuxedo, how people dress to go for dinner. He went for dinner with this lady. Remember, back home, the mother is waiting. True story. The mother is waiting for him to go home because that was the day she was going to tell him some of the things that, the dad had left. So now as the mother is waiting, she decided not to sleep because she said, he may come later. So she dozed on the couch, on the sofa. At about 11 midnight, her phone rings. So she picks the phone. She's thinking the son is at the gate. So she's picking the phone. It's the phone of the son ringing. And then she picked it. It's somebody else speaking. Then the person asked, are you Mama so-and-so? She said, yes, where is he? Because she's thinking it's somebody who has maybe taken him home because he was coming home that day. He said, he's in a very bad state. She said, what do you mean? The person said, come to a certain hospital. Come to Nairobi Hospital, for example. Come there right now. She said, I'm far away. She was in Kisii. She said, I'm in Kisii. He said, just come right now. He's not in a good state. So the mother is trying to wake up from her sleep. She's alone in the house. She's confused. Then she tells the person who called, dial the phone, get the number of so-and-so, and call this person. It was a relative who is in Nairobi. Tell him to come. Anyway, long story short, the young man had been involved in a hit and run accident. A vehicle had hit him along this road. That time, 11 midnight. Now, we don't know whether it was a suicide mission, but even as he was hit, he was dressed in his very smart dinner clothes. He had gone to meet. He had told people that I've been admiring this TV anchor. She has finally accepted to meet me for dinner. So I'm going to meet her. So instead of him going home, whatever they had planned with the mother is waiting at home. He decided to go for dinner with this lady. We don't know whether it was suicide or whether it was hit and run, whatever it was. The most important thing I'm trying to say is that the boy was, by the time they arrived at the hospital, was pronounced dead. So one of the regrets the mother kept on making, she said, I wish I had told my son the things I've been holding. I've been wanting to tell him these things for over 20 years. When the father died, he was maybe 5. So the mother said, I was happy because he had gotten his job, he was stable, he had started his master's, and I now wanted to talk to him, to tell him some of the things I've been wanting to tell him. That was the end of the life for that boy. So during the funeral, the girlfriend came for the funeral. I noticed that the girlfriend was crying very bitterly. So I said, is there something more? I'm not sure whether I asked her, but I must have implied, is there something you want to say? She said, yes, there's something that is hurting me more than the death of this boy. What is it? She said, when I was in university, I conceived with him and I got pregnant. I was expecting twins. He told me, no, we can't do this. You have to terminate the pregnancy. So I terminated twin boys. So she said, I wish I didn't do that, because I would at least have something or someone to give the mother. Anyway, that was her thought. I'm not saying I support that or whatever it is, but that's what she was saying, because I noticed that she was weeping very bitterly. She said, he told me he's not ready to be a father, so I terminated, the pregnancy. That was the end of that son. That was the end of that family, so to speak. The father had also died of a road accident. That's one story. The other story, a young man, they were raised in a family. There were 4 very intelligent sons and 1 daughter, extremely intelligent. Wherever they would go to school, they were always top. And the mother and the father were not agreeing on discipline. The father would insist that they need to be disciplined the way they do their things. The mother said, my sons mature very early because they are very intelligent. Anyway, he went to university. There in university, he got a certain lady. Again, nobody used to say no to this boy. He got a certain lady and they got into a relationship. He had just completed university, first class. He had gotten a scholarship, was studying French, so he had been given a scholarship to go to France and do masters. In the meantime, he was living here in Nairobi, processing the documents to go to study masters. Very intelligent. Then he discovered that his friend was having an affair with this girl. Okay? This girl he had, the friend was having an affair with the girlfriend. This friend, they were living in the same house, room, whatever. So he told his friend something. Today, you're going to see something you have never seen. You take away my girlfriend, you're going to see something you have never seen. There was someone on Thika Road, and he stepped on the road, and he stood in the middle of the road. There was a truck coming. The truck ran over him. And his friend saw something he had never seen. And the young man died on impact. And just like that, the dreams and everything. The lives of the parents were never the same again because they had lost the older brother again, who was also extremely intelligent. They had lost him to HIV when he was in his prime. His elder brother, this was the second born. The parents' life were never the same again. They had to move to another county. Their lives were changed forever. I'm not going into details. I wish, again, these were just 2 stories, but the stories are very many. That these boys were intelligent and everything. Externally, they were strong, but internally, they were weak. They never learned how to manage their emotions. How I pray that none of our sons is going to find himself to be in such a state. Back to what I said, that our young men being dependent, even at an age that they need to be independent. I know that we live in a country at a time when there are no jobs. That much I know. But honestly speaking, the reason cannot be that there are no jobs. That's why my 32-year-old son is asking me for soap. That cannot be. It cannot be the issue that it's because there is a lack of jobs. It's because we have not been able to give our sons roots. The Bible says that our sons in their youth may be like well-watered plants with roots. It is a lack of roots that makes our boys struggle. There is a quote that goes that a boy must kill his mother for him to survive. A boy must kill his mother for him to survive. What do I mean? A boy must emotionally disconnect from his mother for him to be a man. A boy must emotionally disconnect from his mother for him to be a man. We'll talk about what is a man. When or how does a boy get emotionally disconnected from his mother? When the boy is between the ages of 3 to 5 years, they disconnect from their mother and they become like their father, or they copy their father. You will see you will see they will start wearing their father's shoes. They start wearing their father's jacket, and they start telling mimi ni kama daddy. Mimi niko na muscles, or the father's fimbo ama kofia. They start wearing it. And some mothers, they sabotage that developmental stage because they don't know. Because they will come home, the boy opens the door and they asks you, daddy ako wapi? You are coming home, he's not seeing you, he's asking, daddy ako wapi? Some mothers sabotage. They say, daddy unaniuliza. Me, I'm here. You're asking me about your father. Go and look for him. They sabotage. Especially mothers who are parenting single. And maybe they are angry at the father for leaving. What they do is that they sabotage and they silence this boy. So they curtail the process of that boy becoming a man. It's important to encourage them at this stage. And even if they are telling you, my daddy is the strongest man in the world, and you know that even when the daddy hears a dog barking, they tell you to go and check the door. Please, you don't have to tell them the story. That's not your story to tell. Don't say, baba yako na vile hata umbwa akibweka ananituma kwa mlango. That's not your story to tell. They will discover when they grow up. That's not your story. You agree with them. Just tell them, yeah, your dad is the strongest man in the world, and you're lucky to have such a father. If that's not true, they will discover. But otherwise, if you do anything outside of that, you curtail the process of the boy emotionally disconnecting at the critical stage of 3 to 5 years. Another stage where a boy must kill the mother, quote unquote, is at teenage. When the boy is developing into a man, they realize that they are not like their mothers or like their sisters, and they want to connect with men, authority figures. At this point, their emotions can be very overwhelming and very confusing. So the boy needs to have a father who is involved. Unfortunately, if the father does not even know how to manage his own emotions, then it becomes very difficult because the boy wants to disconnect from his mother, but he has nowhere else to go. So he's just hanging around. That's why sometimes you hear people say something like, I don't know whether you've heard of, people refer to a certain category saying, mama's boy. Have you heard of something like that? Mama's boy is not a compliment. It's not a compliment at all. If somebody says this is a mama's boy, that's not a compliment. Amma, you think it's a compliment? That's not a compliment. A boy who must always defer to the mother, and I know sometimes it's very hard when a boy is disconnecting from the mother. As a mother, you feel a certain way because you're just feeling like, this is my son, I took care of him, I did all this. So it becomes really hard when you see the son disconnecting. But a wise mother will encourage the son to disconnect from her so that he can connect to authority figures. There's a mother somewhere who told me that when she wears a dress, she's a single mom. Nothing wrong with single motherhood. If you are the one who's taking care of your children, may God bless you. Another mother told me that when she dresses in the morning, she goes to the son to zip her dress for her. No, apana. The son is a teenager, young adult, and before she comes to church, she will go. The son zips her dress. Please, you're going to ask me who zips your dress. If you have no one, put the zip on the side, please. No. You cannot be going to knock your son's door for him to zip your dress and ask the son, am I smart? Often the results are disastrous. Do you know that there are men who get married and they are not able to be sexually intimate with their wives? Do you know that? Do you know there are men like that? Do you know there are marriages I know that have happened in the church in the past few years, and they are already divorcing because they have gotten married and the man is not able to be sexually intimate with the wife? Mama's boy. He doesn't have a medical reason. Do we say a medical reason? But he's so emotionally entangled with the mother, so much so that he doesn't even know how to be a man. I know you hear these are stories, but I'm telling you it is the truth. So be very, very worried if you are with a man and you go and anywhere he says, this can look very good on my mother. I can buy this for my mother. It is okay to respect and to honor your mother. But your mother cannot be the reason why you live, why you breathe. She cannot be the one being asked questions. You see? If my sons right now, they bring girls to me, chances are high that I will never see anybody good enough for my son. That's the truth. Because I think my sons are too good. That's why I say don't trust me with judgment on who is the right person for you. First of all, do your own research and talk to somebody else. Okay? Ordinarily, when boys are growing, they are obsessed with being strong. They want to be strong. That's why so many boys have a desire to work in the military or to be a policeman. Have you seen young boys like that? They'll always be thinking of working in the military or being a policeman because for them that is the epitome of strength and masculinity. But there are boys who don't have such desires. They just want to be around. They just want to be around and make mama happy and make mama proud. They just want to do that. Because that is how they have been socialized. That is how they have been raised. They have been raised not to have. They do not have roots, okay? As boys are growing, they yearn to have their fathers involved so that the fathers can provide moral and spiritual direction. They need dads who show them what it means to provide. Contrary to what we think, actually, boys are emotionally more vulnerable than girls. Boys are emotionally more vulnerable than girls. Let me ask you a question. When you think of a mother with a special needs child, okay, no, let me put it this way. When you think of a family with a special needs child, what comes to your mind? A mother with a son, isn't it? If you compare the mothers you see with special needs children, the ones who are with sons and the ones who are with daughters, which ones are more? Boys or girls? Special needs, which ones are more? Boys. Because boys are more likely to be diagnosed with learning disabilities, with autism, with ADHD. Boys are more likely to be involved in drunk driving and even in delinquency, okay? The stories I have given you, both of them, the girls were left and the boys died, okay? When families go through a divorce, it is very difficult for both genders, but it is especially more difficult for boys. That's why in many families that have gone through a divorce separation, the daughters will be strong and stable, but the boys will get lost by the wayside. Haven't you seen that? It is not common to hear a story where, you hear a story where the father maybe walked out, the mother has struggled to raise the children. Most often you will see the daughters doing great things. But usually the boys, you will see they are taking alcohol, they are doing something and what. Boys are emotionally more vulnerable and they need the parents to pay a bit more attention, especially when the fathers are not there. Women desire to have men who are strong, men who are providers, not men who are depending on them. There is no marriage I have seen. Let me say this carefully. I've never seen a situation whereby the woman is providing for the man, taking care of him, and she respects him. Have you seen any? Have you seen any like that? Have you seen a family where a woman is providing, taking care of the man, and she respects that man, and she's happy? Have you ever seen that? She's happy. If she's pretending to respect the man, she's angry, bitter, and resentful. You know why? It's not because the women are bad. It's because that is against the natural order of things. Do you understand? I didn't admire that setup because that can never be me. But I just got intrigued because I said, there's something very unique about this and I can learn from them. So I talked to the lady, I said, what makes you, what's keeping you guys together, loving each other like this? And she said, I am very grateful because I have been in another marriage or relationship before, and the man was hardworking and everything, but he didn't treat me well. So she said, I'm counting my blessings with this man who truly loves me, even if he's not. So you asking why he was not working or anything, you wonder. So she said, I'm very thankful. And I said, good for you. Before long, this man sent a message and he said, please help me. He sent online. It's, online, and I get a lot of DMs. He said, please help me because my wife is having a relationship with another man. I said, definitely that was going to happen. I didn't say it loudly. I'm just saying now. I knew that this was going to happen. It was only a matter of time. And if you looked at those messages that the wife was exchanging with another man, they were like those teenage messages. Did you ever write letters when you were 17, 18? Okay, Gen Z. Zile barua mnaandikanga, zile messages. Those were the kind of messages that she was writing now in her 40s they have a number of children. Children who need to be writing the messages, they were writing. So the messages were shocking, but not shocking because that was an expectation. Because over time, how does she begin to view this man? You see, how is she viewing him? it changes. There's something called polarity between masculinity and femininity. Let me explain. There's something called polarity. For people to be romantically attracted and to enjoy sexual intimacy, there has to be polarity between masculine and feminine. Okay? Somebody has to be a man, another one has to be a woman. So when there are reversed roles and there's confusion, the woman starts wearing the pants, she will resent and despise this man. Okay? When the man starts wearing the dress, he will end up being like a child in this marriage. And this man said, I'm shocked that my wife can be so romantic with another man like this, and yet in our home, intimacy died a long time ago. I said, obviously, it would. Anyway, so along the way, the man said, if only she can start for me a business of about 3 million, I will just leave her in peace. Are you seeing that kind of twisted thinking? The man is saying, if only she can give me 3 million to start a business, nitamuacha. How did it become okay in a man to ask a woman to start a business for him? When did that become okay? Lack of roots. Lack of roots. Anyway, the story didn't end well. I won't finish the story, but it did not end well. So I'm trying to say I am yet to see. And even when I ask women all over, right now they may be afraid of raising their hands. But when I have conferences and I ask women, will you be okay housing, feeding, providing for your husband? I've never met a woman who will say it's okay. And I ask, will you respect? They say never. Will you be attracted? Never. Because there has to be that polarity. That is why mommy's boys can have a girl who is a friend. They want that girl to be their girlfriend, to be their partner. And the girl says, we uko sawa lakini hapana. And the guys, it feels like this. The girl experiences the young man like this. If you have ever taken tea, when tea has enough sugar, I don't take tea, I don't take sugar. So I'm just saying, from what I can remember. When tea has enough sugar, it tastes nice. Sindio? What happens when you put too much sugar in that tea? Inakugaragaria, unasikia kutapika. So that's how a mama's boy comes across. Like, he's okay and everything, but as a girl, you're with a mama's boy, you feel like you're with another girl. Yani kuna kitu, there's something that just doesn't work. You just feel like vomiting. And they're wondering. And eventually the boy will be left or will be cheated on. And the parents will be saying, even us in the church will be saying, but this young man is so good. Why can't he get a wife? He's effeminate. He's effeminate. Women, girls want men who have roots, not effeminate, some creatures somewhere in between. Okay? Very important. So the question we may be asking ourselves, how do we raise our sons? And I know this is a pregnant topic. That's why we'll give it enough time for questions. How can we raise our boys to be strong so that they have roots? They have roots and they can grow high. I will give you about 7-8 ways that we can raise our sons to be strong, and then I will take questions. We need to teach our sons the language of emotions. We need to teach our sons how to identify their emotions, how to express their emotions, and what to do with their emotions. The 2 examples I gave you, these young men never knew how to express their emotions, what to do with their emotions. Eventually, it leads to addictions and even suicidality, and many other things because they cannot express themselves. There are certain men who have been raised not knowing how to express any emotions except anger. So when anything happens, they fight, they're angry. Some men will be so addicted to sex, not because of the sexual act itself, but that is the only time they can feel something. They can feel something. There is that saying that goes, Simba mwenda pole ndiye mula nyama. So you see, they are just quiet, they can't express themselves, but every time they feel they want to have sex because that's the only time they can feel something. They have learned not to express their emotions. Somebody gave an illustration and said, if we had a young boy and a young girl, if the girl fell down, we will pick her up and comfort her. But if a boy fell down, we will tell him, stand up, you're a man, wipe yourself. Why are you crying? Unalialia kama msichana. So the boy learns that expressing of emotions is what? Is wrong. So they are raised not to express their emotions. And eventually it comes into addictions, or even it comes to acting out sexually, because they never learn to express their emotions. Another thing we need to do is we need to train our sons to be teachable. I really struggle with this a lot with my sons, being teachable. Kichwa ngumu like what? I mean, you're trying to be told something. Na una act tu kama mjua. And anytime I tell them, I don't know whether this was a prayer or it's a question. You need to guide the children when you give them. They put a question here, I can't find it. So if it's a prayer request, it's fine. But if it's a question, they bring here. So let me tell you something. You know, I have been telling my sons, I tell them, what a young man cannot see when they are on top of a tree, an old man can see under the tree. So I tell them, these things I have experienced them. Your daddy has experienced them. Other people have experienced. We know these things. And they will look at me and they'll tell me, maybe the old man has lost his sight. Imagine. So, you know, I'm trying to tell them, even if you think I'm seated under a tree, I can see further than you. They say your sight is not as strong as mine, you know. So it is very difficult. We need to teach our children to be teachable, not to be arrogant, like they cannot listen to anybody. Then when they go down the road, things go south because they cannot listen to anybody. And we are not saying that as a man, like you have to take everything people tell you. Just listen and then decide. You know, you can just listen. You know, there are homes whereby they could have gone very far if only the men learn to listen to their wives. You know, when your wife tells you, I can feel, please err on the side of caution. You know, when she says, I can feel, this is not okay. I can feel, this is not okay. Please, just listen. Just listen to what she's telling you. She could be having a point, especially she tells you the way that woman is looking at you. It doesn't go. I mean, it's not, I'm just not feeling like it's okay. Then you say, you know, you're always paranoid, you're always suspicious. Or she says, you know, that where you want to invest in, I just feel like it's not okay. Please, you don't have to take it because maybe you feel when they were kusema, but can you just listen? Or maybe she's telling you, that school where we are taking the child, I've looked at that school and I don't think it's okay. You know, there are children who have died by suicide because they're in a school where they are being bullied. And then the mother says, the way I'm feeling, this is not okay. And the father decides, no, hapo lazima aende na lazima asome. The child ends up taking away their life. One lady said, she said this publicly, she went to work abroad. She went to work in another country for about 6 months. So she went to work. She used to work, send money home. She left her children with their dad. One of her sons was her teenage son. She came home after 6 months. The boy is not home. He's not in school. Was in Form 2. So she asked, where is so-and-so? The father said, he lives on the street. For real, he stays on the street. So the mother said, stays on the street? He's in Form 2. The father said, you know, aliniletea kichwa. Na mimi nikamwambia, hatuwezi kuwa na wanaume kwa nyumba. So nikamwambia ajipange. So the boy was now on the street taking drugs. The father just said, leave. You know, you are man enough. We can't be 2 men here. You know, the mother regretted so much. She said, if only I was there, you know, I could have intervened. I failed my son. Now it was very hard for them to get the son from the street back home. Okay? So sometimes there are things that you can be told by your wife. Please just listen. Just listen. You may not do anything about it, but just listen. There are many men who have regretted because they have said, I wish I listened to my wife. I didn't. So please learn, even from an early age as a boy child. Just learn to take time and listen. Then you can decide what to do. Number 3. Let's teach our sons how we give our sons roots. Let's teach our sons to provide and protect the people under their charge. They need to learn to provide and to protect. As I said, The Bible says, if anyone does not provide for his own, especially for those of his own house, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 8. There's a certain lady who said she's living with her husband for over 10 years, and she's the one who has been working. She's the one who has been providing. So one time they went to his village. When they went to his village, they were seated, and the mother to this man was carrying heavy loads. You know the way women in the village can carry heavy loads, firewood and what? His sons were seated. They have gone to visit. The sons were seated with their wives. The mom is carrying firewood. The mom, an elderly woman. She comes and she starts kupasua kuni, and the sons are seated. So this lady was shocked. She said, you people, you are all seated. Your mom ndiye anapasua kuni to cook for you. You are seated. They said, ai, ni sawa, wacha ang'ang'ane. How does it feel okay, a son with strength and energy, to watch an elderly mother kupasua firewood? Now this lady understood why this man has been comfortable feeding off her for 10 years. Where she can go to work, he's seated, he's waiting. And I know that sometimes you can have a man who is struggling, but then maybe the business is not going well, or he's in between a job for some time. But this person will not be comfortable. You understand? They will be very disturbed. Please, if you are a man in your 20s and listening to me today, and you're waiting to go in the evening to ask your mother, your father, I don't know why mostly you ask your mothers, to ask the mother for money to buy a shaving blade. Please be very, very disturbed. Be very, very, very disturbed, because si sawa kabisa, it's not okay for you to feel that way. She now understood, because he learned from an early age that the mother will carry the heavy weight and provide for him. So he was now comfortable sitting when the wife is feeding him, and is feeling okay for over 10 years. So we need to teach our sons that a man who has roots is a man who provides and a man who protects. Not a man who is being provided for and being protected. Okay? Number 4, we need to teach our sons to respect women and the girls. We need to teach our boys to respect women and girls. You know, I think if there's something as Africans we have failed our sons, is raising our sons to feel entitled to female bodies. You know, we have raised our sons who feel entitled to female bodies. When my son went to university, he told me for about 1 week, they were taken through orientation. And one of the things that was very clear is that the institution he is in, they have zero tolerance towards sexual harassment. Zero tolerance. So they were told you cannot catcall as a boy or even as a girl. Mostly it's boys. You cannot catcall a girl. If you do that, you go home. You cannot make unwanted comments about somebody's body. You cannot. And you cannot force yourself on somebody who is not interested in you. You can't. So he said some of the things that they were taught in that institution, there are things he had either read that happen in developed countries, or some of the things I teach from the pulpit. But he said, typically in the African context where he has been, some of those things look like they are very foreign. But he said he was happy because in that institution, they hold it zero tolerance to sexual harassment or anything. They were told as a boy child, you cannot look at women and think that the body parts are for you, for your sexual gratification. That's a human being. You might have seen in our country, we had rugby players, 2 rugby players, whose career was very promising. They took a girl out, they bought alcohol, they took alcohol. Then when they came home, they had sex with this girl when she was drunk. They were in court a few years ago, and that is just how they lost their careers. And they were told it consent all the way. The fact that a girl accepted to go out, of course I'm not telling people to drink. I don't drink, I'm just saying. The fact that the girl accepted to go out with you, number 1. You bought her alcohol, number 2. You came to the house, to your house with her, does not mean she has consented to sex. And I know somebody will say, but why don't you tell the girls also to to take care of themselves. That's another topic. Today I'm talking about boys. So the thing is that the fact that you can't say, oh, but she accepted my alcohol. She accepted to go out with me. She accepted to go to my house. Did she accept to have sex with you? And just like that, these two boys, I looked at them, they were in their 20s. Their career was really gaining momentum. And I saw them in court breaking down. And just like that, they were jailed for sexual abuse. Yeah? You cannot do that because you cannot assume that these are your bodies. In fact, I've had a lot of ambassadors and young single ladies in some churches. I've heard them say how the greatest headache they have in church, I believe it doesn't happen here, but this is what I've been told in other churches. They tell me the greatest headache we are having in churches is with your husbands, with the elders and the pastors. And they say, imagine you go home and then you are receiving a message and this man is an elder, he's the one who baptized you. I mean, of course, the pastor baptizes, but he was in the water with you when you are being baptized. And the man is sending you a message about your body and you're looking, you are like, what is this? Like, what are you talking about? Feeling entitled. Listen to widows. You know, widows say the way they're having such a hard time in church because the moment they bury their husbands, some men in church think now the widows are property. In Nyanza, the widows are called mugongowazi. You know, there's that samaki called mugongowazi. Mugongowazi is very cheap fish that is available for everybody. So some men say, huyu ni mugongowazi. They're just open to anybody. Entitlement to female bodies. Let us teach our sons to respect female bodies. Number 5. Avoid nagging or talking at your son. Nagging, talking at him. Communicate calmly and firmly, then enforce age-appropriate boundaries. Actions speak louder than words. When it comes to parenting boys, actions speak louder than words. And this is something I've had to learn myself. Because by virtue of the person that I am, I can talk a lot. And because my mother used to quarrel us the whole night, when you have done something wrong, one of you has done something wrong, my mother would quarrel the whole night. I'm not exaggerating. She would not sleep. She would begin quarreling you by 6 p.m. Up to 6 a.m. she's still quarreling. And she's not repeating words. If you think I have words, you don't know my mother. My mother is not repeating words. She will use different words to quarrel you for 12 hours non-stop. So, of course, I learned from the best. And along the way, she'll break into a prayer and singing and shouting, then come again to hammer you with her words. When she's done with you, please, you don't ever want to do the same thing because those words can sting. They can hurt you. So now, because I learned from the best, I would really also quarrel my children. And they told me, when you speak, we can't hear. We are deaf. We just block you out. So I discovered with my sons, the words are not working. So I learned that action speaks louder than words. If I have said you come home by 10 p.m. and I've said it and you're not home, lock the door and sleep. We lock the door and sleep. You come and knock and you sleep outside. True story. So if that is what we have said, please, no, that's it. We don't, I don't, initially I would stand at the door and make noise and say, see now, you'll see what's going to happen. I learned that actions speak louder than words. If I said your allowance for the week is this amount, then you start sending me a message midweek, sasa masa, niaje, naeza niokolea. I just say, no, not possible. Tunasonga. Kasonge kaende. So tunasonga mbele. So actions speak louder than words. Because if you are talking, you talk, you make noise, then you go back and you waver. What you're teaching them is that the more they push, the more they will get what they want. You remember what I told you about this young man who would cry until he hyperventilates? Then the mother says, give him, please, give him, Amelia son. Give him. No. Actions speak louder than words. Speak calmly and respectfully. You don't have to tear your son apart because you're communicating something. You don't need to rip his dignity apart. You can still correct him while you leave him with his dignity, okay? Number 6, model the same qualities that you would like to see in your son. Model the same qualities. Generational patterns are real. When your child watches what you're modeling, they will do exactly the thing that you're modeling. So model what you want your son to see. Do not preach water and drink wine. Number 7, treat him ultimately to be accountable to God. Treat him to be accountable to God. Train him to be accountable to God. We wish that we can always be there with our children. We wish we can always be there. We wish we can control their environment, whatever they do. But one thing I'm learning as a parent is that I am so powerless. Letting go is so hard. Like, I let go, like now I don't know where my children are. Right now, I'm here. Let me tell you, when we were raising our children in a certain church, we used to sit here. Our seats were always at the front. My husband would be seated here, I would be seated here, and our children would be in between. So my eyes were always on them. Whatever they are doing, I was always there. Of course, I'm not saying that is the best way to raise a child, but that's what I knew best at the time. Now, right now, for me to know that wherever they are, I don't know. What they are doing, I don't know. Like, I have to release, I have to let go. That's not easy for me, but it's something I've learned, and I tell them, son, the Lord who sees in secret is going to reward you publicly. So I tell them, whatever you are doing in secret, God is going to reward you publicly. And there are times when a child has done something and I have found out. They have done something and I found out in a very strange way. And they ask, but how did you know? I say, I just found out. It came to me. And I wasn't there and I had no idea. It happened also to us. My mother would just find out, you've done something. So teach them to be accountable to God and God alone. The last one I want to say, teach your son to take care of themselves. Teach your son to take care of so that they are not depending on the women in their lives to take care of them. There are men who marry, there are young men I've seen, they marry very early because they don't know how to take care of themselves. And many times they make a mistake. Because they'll be like, I have a job, I have a home, I need somebody to take care of this home, I need somebody to take care of me. Is that all you want from a wife? Is that all you want from a partner? Because they are so terrified, they cannot even take care of themselves. A lot of men struggle with poor health in middle age. A lot of men struggle with poor health in middle age because they don't even know how to cook a simple meal for themselves. They cannot make a salad. They cannot peel a banana. But they will eat turungi na kangumu. That's what they are eating. Strong tea and bread. That's what they are eating. Because they never learn to prepare a simple meal for themselves. I was telling my son the other day, the way they are clearing my food, and I think it's good food, and they are filling the garbage. And I said, when you get married, how sure are you? Your wife might be feeding you Indomie, and here you are eating my brown ugali and my managu and everything. What are you going to do when your wife will be feeding you Indomie? They said, no, I'll cook for myself. I said, okay, that's good. If you can cook for yourself, that's good. But again, I said, choose carefully. Don't choose a girl who will buy ugali for you from the supermarket. Have you seen ugali being sold in Naivas, by the way? How can that happen? That is sacrilegious. Ugali from a supermarket. I've seen githeri from the some things don't make sense to me. Anyway, so the point is that we need to teach our sons to take care of themselves and to choose well, because you will see how the health, by the time some men get to middle age, their health has given way because from an early age, they were not eating healthy. Don't give, do not give somebody so much power over your life that if your wife is not there, you cannot eat healthy. Don't do that. You've seen when men get widowed in church, not in church only, but in society. You've seen men get widowed. And the life, I know there's the emotional aspect, but also the aspect of self-care. A lot of them, you find out they are not eating healthy. Within a short time, you hear somebody had a stroke, a heart attack, because now they are no longer able to eat well. I think it's important if we teach our sons to normalize preparing a healthy meal for themselves so that they can eat. It's very important. I saw a certain man somewhere. He had a wife. This is the last thing I'll say. I'll take questions. He had a wife who was very, very hands-on. She was very hands-on. So when they were building their home, the wife was on site. She built a beautiful home. She was even importing materials from the Middle East, and everything had a detail. When I looked at that house, I wish I was like her. So this woman was hardworking. She wasn't so educated, but she was in her business. She was very diligent. She built that home, I'm telling you. Imagine the moment she finished building that home, she died. She didn't live in that house even a single day. The house was complete. By the time it's getting complete, she was diagnosed with a form of cancer, 4th stage, I think, or 3rd stage. She went for treatment. She died. She did not enter this house. So, because the house was complete, they moved into it, and now the burial preparations and everything were done in the house. So, as we were going to that house, you look at that house, and you are looking at this lady now, a body, in the house that she invested herself in. She both worked with her hands and supervised. She used to go on site and stay on site the whole day. She even knew the stone. She'll know where to get the stones from. Anyway, she died. She was buried. And I remember during the funeral, the husband, I looked at him and we just felt so sad because he was broken and confused. And he did not even know where, the place where you put tokens. He had no idea, like tokens are steamer. He had no idea. And so the man did what the mistake most men do. Was about, not most, sorry, some men do. Was in his 50s. He married a 20-something-year-old girl. Please let me just give you free advice. If you are a man in your 40s, in your 50s, and for whatever reason you are marrying, please, there are no wives who are 20-something-year-old. Please, there are no wives. These are children. There are no wives. Do not deceive yourself that this is the one who is going to take care of me when I'm old. Forget about it. She will not take care of you when you're old. So he married a 20-something-year-old. And this woman had left her with a big car and with the teenage children. So this girl was even around the age of her sons. So for a few days, this girl was now driving the car, driving the man. The sons were so distraught, they fought, they didn't fight, but they disagreed so bad with the dad, they moved out. Because they are seeing they're in their 20s, the house the mother has built, a young girl has come in, taken over the car and everything. They disagreed so bad with this girl. It didn't take long. The father started having fights with this girl, obviously, and then the girl left. And this man actually got a stroke. So bad. Because his health now, he was isolated, he was home, the sons have gone, he did not even know where salt was. Have you ever been in a home where ata chumvi ujui? Like if your wife goes on a retreat, unampigia simu. Na chumvi iko wapi? Wapi sukari? Akienda ujue chumvi iko wapi leo. Please, just go and know. Just know where salt is, roughly. Just have an idea, please. Because there are men... Nimekanyaga live wire. Now, let me tell you, there are men who tell me that when their wives travel, they just boil water, then make strong tea. Just the kettle, where it is. Ama gas, unawasha tu hivi anachemsha maji, anaweka strong tea, alafu anaenda kwa duka ananunua mkate, ama unajua zile kangumu zinazungushwa, the ones which watchmen and the people buy. Lakini zile kangumu ni tamu anyway. I've never tasted, but I think they are sweet. I think they say that zinatengenezwa na mafuta ya transformer. Ndio maana. Anyway, so let me tell you. Imagine unaona elder Adventista ule anavaa suti. Ako na juala na kangumu. Imagine, until the wife has gone on a women ministry retreat. So na watoto wako shule, ananunua kangumu, imagine. Na huyu ni elder anafunza health message. Aki tukue serious. So unabeba kangumu. Anachemsha maji, anakoroga hiyo turungi na kikombe because hataki kuosha sufuria. So aweke hiyo maji kwa kikombe, akoroge na kuku ama na majani na sukari na kunywa. It will not end well. Do you think you will be 55 and healthy? Ukikula hivyo, utakuwa 55 na uko healthy. And then they tell me, akistaki kuchafua sufuria, nani ataosha sufuria? Hapana. You know what you are doing? You are giving over your life to other people. Just learn to prepare a salad for yourself. Cut a cucumber, cut some onion, cut some tomato, cut avocado, weka avocado hapo ndani hivi, chemsha mayai, weka hapo. Just something, a healthy meal, please. Just learn to eat a healthy meal. That way you will not be under the mercy of somebody else. So let's teach our sons. They get roots by taking care of themselves. Many men who have gone the route of getting a wife, a woman, just to take care of them, after some time you realize that this woman is not a suitable helpmeet for you. Because beyond preparing a meal for you and maybe being sexually available for you, there is nothing else. By the way, did you know that many men can have sex with almost any woman, but women cannot have sex with just any man? Did you know that? Did you know that? Many men can have sex with almost any woman. That's how we are wired. But women cannot have sex with just any man. So if a man is saying, oh, mwanamke ni mwanamke, bora anaweza nipikia chakula na ile chakula ingine, that is a very low standard. Very, very low standard. And after some time, you will be frustrated and unfulfilled because that's not all. So you need to learn self-control and discipline and how to prepare a simple meal, at least a simple meal for yourself so that you can take care of themselves. And these things are best learned when somebody is young. You know, when you learn this when you are young, it becomes easy as you grow older. Let me take any questions or any comments. So I have 2 questions. If there are any, I will be happy to respond. Most of our boys are vulnerable because most of the time, the fathers are not present for them. What impact can women bring or lessons in the absence of the father figure? That's very true. Most of our sons are vulnerable because their fathers are not present for them. What can women do for the sake of our sons? I can understand what you're saying. This is very true. So there are certain, I will respond in terms of, stages, in terms of why is the father not available? So, is that a question or prayer? Okay. So the thing is this. We normally say this way. A woman can convert an embryo into a boy, but a woman cannot bring a man out of a boy. That's not possible. A woman cannot teach a boy how to be a man because she doesn't know. But she can convert an embryo into a boy, but not a boy into a man. So there are many reasons why the father may not be there. Number 1 is that the father may have died. Because, we have seen that men die earlier, okay? The research actually shows that in Kenya, by the age of 45, 6 out of 10 women will be single parents. 6 out of 10 women will be single parents. So you are likely to see women raising children alone than the other way. So there are men who may die, so because men die earlier, so women may be widowed. Number 2, because of parental divorce or separation. When parents divorce or separate, the woman remains with the children. Sometimes it can also be because the father is working away or the father has to put in a lot of work hours. It can also be that the father does not know how to be there for the children. They can be there physically, but emotionally they are not there, isn't it? They are there. I wonder, maybe I want to challenge fathers. Do you know your son's best friend? Do you know their friend? Do you know what your child likes? Do you know what your child likes, what your child would rather do most of the time? So sometimes some fathers can be there physically, but emotionally they are not there because they did not know, they never learned how to be emotionally present, okay? So this is a case where they may not be there. Sometimes there are fathers who have abandoned. These are broken men. They get children, they disappear. They abandon their children. And they never turn back to go and take care of their children. So this question is being asked in case of a mother. The mother is there. What can she do? What a mother can do is she can introduce role models to her son. You can introduce godly role models. Maybe from church, maybe from the neighborhood, maybe from your family. You can get a man who you can introduce to mentor your son. If that's not possible, because sometimes it's not possible, you can talk to your son about the great men, even in history. You can talk to them about King David, about Joseph, about Daniel. You can talk to them about their grandparents who are great men. By the way, you will be amazed when you talk to your son about their grandfather who was a great man. It means a lot to them. One time I was talking to our elder son, I was talking to our sons about my grandfather, my maternal grandfather. My maternal grandfather had very nice hair. We used to know him because of his hair. And he never used to shave. He had a lot of black, nice hair. And a nice smooth skin. And he was a tall and strong man. So I used to talk to him and I would sometimes tell my firstborn son, you look like my grandfather. Even when he goes home, my mother says, this is my father because he looks like my grandfather. And so at some point I told them that my grandfather was a herdsman in Lord Delamere's farm. Lord Delamere's farm? My grandfather worked for him. I'm not sure whether he did or I'm imagining, but I think I heard that story. It doesn't matter. But I told him that story. So one time we had attended a camp and we were talking about facts about ourselves. And our son said, you may never know. We were talking about things about yourself which people may not know. What are the things, unique things about yourself which people may not know? And our son said that my maternal grandfather worked in Lord Delamere's farm. It's something I had forgotten. It was just a story. So anytime, we talk, he's really eager to hear this grandfather. What did he do? We say he was a strong man. He used to go and hunt and do everything. And you can see. And now, I don't know whether it's because of that I said or not, our eldest son has refused to shave his hair. And so his hair, because we said, some people know him, and because we said, the way I would tell him, you are the one who took our grandfather's hair. And when I gave birth to him in hospital, the nurses asked me, Mama, how can you waste such hair on a son? Because he came out with so much black hair. They said, Mama, you've given birth to a son and you've given a son such hair. How can you waste such hair on a son? So, and I said, no, even a son can have such beautiful hair. He will give his daughters. So my son, I don't know whether it was because of that, but maybe other reasons. Our son has refused to shave his hair and his hair reaches almost here. If you know him, you will know that I'm telling you. So sometimes even makes it like Samson, the braids, the 7 locks, I don't know whatever that is, but he has a lot of hair, even beard. And I noticed that he's using some special oils for his hair and his beard. Olive oil. And I said, my son, bring that olive oil. We eat it in salad. How can you go? No. How can you go and buy? He goes and buys olive oil. Olive oil to pour on his hair. And I'm saying, please, my son, bring that olive oil. You can put it in salad and eat it inside. Then the hair will grow. He says, no, I'm treating my hair well. But one thing I know is that we kept on talking about how he's like my grandfather. We'd say, your skin is so smooth, just like my grandfather. So the point I'm saying is, there are great men that you know, even in your family. They are not perfect. Nobody is perfect, but they are great men. If you start telling them about some of the values those great men had, the children will eventually begin to grow in the similitude of those great men. When I'm counseling teenage boys, normally I would ask the mothers or fathers, but mostly it's mothers who bring them to me. I will ask them, can you tell me something about your family lineage? Tell me about your grandparents. And one mother told me, by the way, my grandfather was a chief, was a colonial chief, a great man. So I went and I told the son, I was counseling him, I told him, do you realize your great-grandfather was a colonial chief? He said, he was? I said, you are of royal blood. You are ahead of the pack. You cannot be scratching with the chicken. You fly with the eagles. Your grandfather was a chief. And the boy looked at me, the eyes wide open. And the mother asked me, what did you do to my son? What did you do? I said, what? You just talked to my son. Things have completely changed. I said, I just invoked what you told me. I said, your great-grandfather was a chief. You cannot be here struggling with chicken. I'm not calling people chicken. But I said, you were made to be an eagle. You fly high. You've taken after your great-grandfather, you know. So tell them about some of the great men in history, in the Bible, or even other men in the world, or especially men in your lineage, because I know there are people like that. So when you say that, you can inspire your son for greatness. But as much as possible, if you are able to introduce them to godly role models, uncles, grandfathers, cousins, men in the church, men in the neighborhood. But again, you have to ensure that it's somebody who has values that you want your son to pick. I hope that helps you. How can young people empower themselves in the current state where there are no jobs to be productive? How can young people empower themselves in the current state where there are no jobs? So in the current state, you have to kill all expectations to get a job. Kill all expectations to get a job. Begin to think about how can you add value to the world? How can you add value to the world? When you walk in places, I want you to think about what can you do? The other day I had gone to Kisii for a crusade. I went to Kenya for a crusade. And I saw a land of milk and honey. The truth. Like if there's a land of milk and honey, that land, I was in that place for like 2 weeks. It was raining every day. There is no day it didn't rain. Every day. Joseph, we were together. Please, Joseph, say hi. Joseph Wat Kenya, please say hi. If you have seen some of my videos called Get to the Point, that's the man behind that, Get to the Point. If you have seen, subscribe to his channel. If you have events, weddings, funerals, parties, please call him. He does state-of-the-art transmission. Okay? So anyway, I was in a crusade. Joseph was there. He can confirm it rained every single day in that place. And the avocados and the bananas in that land, I used to wake up in the morning and just look. And I told the people in Kenya, you are in this place and you are poor. Who bewitched you? Who bewitched you? You can be in this place and you are poor. Avocados this size and bananas this size. I said, if you just get these avocados, put in a parcel, send to somebody in Nairobi. Within a day, they have sold, they have made money and sent you. And avocados are just falling. Cows are eating. And bananas are just here falling on the trees. I said, no, you cannot be serious. What do you think about when you see people, you see situations? Do you think about solutions? I was in Mombasa. I told these people in the church, when I'm just here, I'm looking at you. You bring me here in a month, I will be a millionaire. With no job, I'll be a millionaire here. You know what? I said, I have looked at you. I've seen the way you are struggling with your children. I've seen the way you are struggling with your children in this city. If I come here and tell you I'm beginning a program, I will take your children, I will teach them life skills, and you will pay. Do you think anybody will refuse? Even me, I will pay so that my child can be kept busy. So I said, I've seen the problem you have. So as a young person, begin thinking solutions to the problems that people have. Don't be thinking about how people are going to help you, how someone is going to give you a job, somebody will help you get a job. Think about problems. Nobody rewards you with money for nothing. But people give you, you give people a service, and then people will be a blessing to you. So think about how to solve problems, and then think about how to add value before you think about money. Think about how to add value. The young people I have seen, they are given an internship opportunity, and the first thing they're asking, utanilipa pesa ngapi? Are you a fool or something? How can you ask that question? Somebody has given you an opportunity to learn. Take that opportunity and do your very best. And then you can now discuss anything later. So don't start asking. Some even say, now they are giving me a job. Ati anataka nianzie 30K. Please take that opportunity and shine. So serve. Invest. Don't waste so much money on useless TikTok videos. There are many lessons, many courses somebody can do online. Many courses. Get those courses. Do online. Equip yourself with skills. Identify somebody who is struggling with something and just say, I can help you. Let me tell you something. I have young children. They are 10 to 15. I'm mentoring them for this year. So I told them a few months ago, I want all of you to make money. This month, I want everybody to make money. It doesn't matter how much. I just want you to make money. So they went somewhere asking their parents, how can we make money? I told the parents, don't give them an answer. Tell them to just think about how to make money. So that 1 month, we left the boys and girls 10 to 14, 15. Think about making money. They came back after a month. We meet once a month. We started talking about how they have made money. Let me tell you, I was impressed. One boy had made 7,000. Guess from where? He was tutoring children in the neighborhood. He's 13. So he went to the neighbors. He said, I can help your children to do homework, the younger children. He earned 7,000 in that month. And some of them were saying, I realize I have clothes I don't wear. I have jerseys I don't wear, and they are new. I sold them. Some of the children, the most exciting, they told their parents, how much are you paying the house girl? The parents said this amount. They said, how about we do the work and you pay us that amount? And the children are doing excellent work, and they divide that amount. Every month they are paid that amount which the parents were paying the house girl. Okay? So the children came up with innovative ideas. My son amazed me. He said he became a comedian in school. He started making other children laugh, and they paid him. I am telling you, it's just amazing. Once you open your mind, and I told them it doesn't matter how much you will make. What I just want is look for an opportunity and make money. Imagine he told me he started cracking jokes. He's the last born. No last borns can crack jokes. And he said, here, this is, I don't know, for laughs. You come here, you pay this amount, I make you laugh. And they paid, and he made money. Because there's so much tension out there, and they laughed. So I told the parents, we are teaching the children to begin thinking solution. They begin thinking jobs. They begin thinking making money. They begin taking care of themselves. So every month when we review, 90% of the children tell me, I normally ask them, what's your take home? What have you learned in this mentorship program? 99%, just that I don't want to say 100%, they say I've learned to make money and budget the money and use the money. So every month they are making money. One mother said, my son is almost auctioning everything in the house. Because he looks, he says, Mommy, do you really need this? I don't think we can sell it. Mommy, do we need this? Imagine, we can sell it. Another one just said, he went to the supermarket, he bought a packet of sweets, then he sold them in the neighborhood and he made money. He just walks around with sweets he sells. Another girl told me they started selling cashew nuts with the mother. They get bulk cashew nuts, they divide, they go around in the neighborhood, they sell cashew nuts and they make money. Just like that. So think solutions. Think of what are people struggling with, think solutions. Equip yourself with skills. Be a person of value. Think of value first before money. Because once you have values, it's a gift that keeps giving. You will keep on learning more and more. And then finally, as a young person, if you don't have a job or you don't have a source of income, Please don't get into a relationship. There is no romance without finance, my friend. Who lied to you? There is no romance without finance. If you have no money, you don't qualify to be in a relationship. Go dump that person and focus on improving your life, getting better. Love is very expensive. And whoever is lying to you at as long as we love each other, tutakula hewa, anakudanganya, hakuna hewa mtakula. Hakuna, there's nothing. You have to work hard, be able to take care of yourself. And I'm not saying you become a millionaire. It's good if you can be a millionaire anyway. But the point I'm saying, you have to first of all be taking care of yourself. Wherever there is money, there is power. He who calls the piper, he who pays the piper calls the tune. So don't focus on you are busy looking for a girlfriend, looking for a boyfriend. The effort you are putting there, put it in making money. One young man asked me, he was asking me as a question when I was doing some live show somewhere. He's told me, there's a girl, we are in college together. I was approaching her, and she told me that I should become financially stable first. Now, is that a question or a statement? So I asked him, and your question is? He said, what should I do? I said, become financially stable. Is that too difficult to understand? The girl told me, become financially stable. That's not a question. Become financially stable. Then he said, but what about her? I said, you went to look for her. She didn't look for you. Did she look for you? So you cannot be giving her advice. She didn't look for you. You went to look for her. She said, be financially stable. It's simple. Be financially stable. So the same way you're putting effort in sending her DMs, can you send DMs to employers and business people and entrepreneurs and seek for advice on what to do? So much emphasis has been put on a girl-child empowerment. What will a boy-child do when dealing with a girl? Now, there is no problem with empowerment on a girl-child. It is good because traditionally it has been very disproportionate. And maybe if I can also help you understand, do you know that when women earn money, 90% of that money goes back to the family? Did you know that? I'm not talking about wicked women, please. I'm not talking about Delilahs and Jezebels of this world. I'm talking about a good woman. When women earn money, 90% of that money goes to the family. So it's very important when a woman can be empowered, she can earn money, because that money eventually translates to improving the welfare of the family. So in this discussion, we are not in any way saying that girl child should not be empowered. It is very, very important. The IQ, intelligence of the child, is determined by the intelligence of the mother. If a mother is empowered, she can decide, she can make a decision, she can choose, instead of buying chips muitu, she can buy avocado, oranges, and bananas and eat. And that is going to improve the health of the unborn child, okay? Instead of the mother buying mandazi for the children, she can now buy something healthy because she knows better. So it's important for a mother to be empowered, okay? Now, somebody has said, what will a boy child do when dealing with the girl child? So the fact that the girl child is empowered does not mean that your empowerment imeisha. It doesn't mean that the boy cannot be empowered. Maybe, just maybe, if there are situations whereby the boy does not know how to deal with an empowered girl. You know, many of our parents, they stayed married because our mothers had nowhere to go. Do you know that? Many of our parents, some, it's not that they were not having struggles in the marriage. It's because the mothers had nowhere to go. So there's no way you can expect somebody who has somewhere to go, kuvumilia. You know, one time when I was growing up, my mother told me something that made me very sad. My mother was married when she was a teenager. My father was a widower. So he was an elderly man, okay? Maybe in his 50s. My mother was a teenager. My father was a widower. So my father had children who were older than my mother. You understand? So my mother is a teenager. She was married to a widower. So one time he died, of course, very early, and they left her with us. So when I was talking to my mother one time, I asked her, what made you get married to my father? Of course, it wasn't a choice. She was made to do it by her parents. But then she told me, when I came here, I found land. Nilipata shamba, and your father was a peaceful man. So I realized I can do a lot with this shamba. I can go to the shamba, I can plant, I can harvest, I can sell, I can take care of my children because I have a shamba and nobody is disturbing me. I remember looking at my mother and feeling very sad. And just saying, I will hate to be married because kuna shamba na mtu anisumbui. That is just too basic. Like for her, her eyes lit up and she said, even if I was not ready to get married, when I came, I found a big land, very fertile land, and your father was a peaceful man. I had all I needed. Surely that is not all I need. But for my mother, you can see circumstances are that is all she needed, okay? And then I imagined, so I was a teenager when she was telling me that story. I remember growing up, I went to school, I got a job, and I said, now I can buy land for myself, so I would not be looking for a man to give me land. And then I said, I would not be looking for a man to give me peace because peace is the bare minimum. Why? I am entitled to peace. I shouldn't be disrupted. So I said, now I have to look for companionship and connection. You see? So our parents were expecting the very bare minimum, and our fathers could say, she cooked for me ugali na akanizalia watoto. She cooked ugali and she gave birth. Imagine that was the standard of a wife those days. She can cook, she can give birth. Surely. So that was the standard. But now, currently, people want connection. They want somebody they can be committed to. They want somebody who can help them grow, somebody who can propel them. You see? So that part of when somebody is disempowered, they have no choice. So they remain in situations where they have no choice. So, as a boy child living in this generation, this is what I tell my sons, you have to offer more than a piece of land and peace. You have to offer more. What more can you offer? You have to be emotionally intelligent. You have to be emotionally available. You have to be able to connect because you cannot afford to live like your father and your grandfather. They were dealing with very different dynamics at the time. Perhaps that's how I can respond. Is it true that a man should not leave his father's house unless he is ready to marry? If so, should the same reason of moving out be marriage? Is it true that a man should not leave his father's house unless he's ready to marry? If so, should the sole reason of moving out be marriage? Okay? So somebody is saying that a man should leave his father's house when he's going to marry. Okay. So this is not, when you have completed university college, you're over 20, you are an adult, your brain has matured. When you are living with your parents, you are in subjection to your parents. If you're going anywhere, you have to tell them where you're going. You have to, even if not permission, but you have to tell them where you're going. You cannot wake up and decide, this is how you want to turn the house upside down. That is the house of your parents. Every man, to begin with a man, every man needs a nest. Every man needs to build a nest before they can marry. So for me, I don't look at it like the reason for moving is marrying. I will be very disturbed if my sons finished college and came back home. I will be very disturbed and I will make it impossible for them to live with me. I'll make it impossible. You know, like the ego, like the way they say the ego makes the nest, they put thorns to face inside. I'm telling you, I will torment them until they leave. Some of the things I will say is when I know they like a certain dish, I say, no, we are not cooking that one here. So I will make sure I cook nderema every day. No, nderema, the slimy vegetable. And brown ugali every day. And I say, this is my house. So we'll be cooking uji and nderema and brown ugali. That's what we like to eat. And if they start complaining, I say, living is also an option, by the way. I've empowered you. And dunia ni kubwa. I will make it impossible for them to live. You may think that I'm a mean mother, but I am teaching them to fly out of the nest. The ultimate goal of parenting is working yourself out of a job. You must be rendered irrelevant in the lives of your children. That's when you know that you have parented. Not when they are coming back and they are defaulting to you. So if somebody has finished college, please, whether you are married or not, you can decide to get married or not. That is up to you. You can get married at 60 or 30 or 27. That's up to you. But But the point is that you must separate yourself from your parents. A home, a family is like an incubator. It incubates you and then you fly away. You have to fly away out of the nest. Even if you are a man and you're going to marry a girl, please don't marry one who is living with a parent. That one does not know the price of rent. They will transfer their burden from the father to you. So you'll be paying rent, they have got no idea. They don't know the price of bananas. Because the mother has been buying bunches of bananas, they have been putting there. Please, whether it's a girl child, a boy child, let them move out of home. Let them know that wherever their parents are living in Syokimau, they have worked hard. They started in a single room in Kayole. They moved to Moja. Then they came closer. They bought land. Wakajenga pole pole. They have gotten somewhere. They have built slowly by slowly. So you can go back to a single room in Kayole. There's nothing wrong with living in Kayole. I'm just using that as an example. Live there in a single room. So get somebody who has learned economy. How do they make use of their things? There are parents who want to hold their children. They are saying, oh, the house is so big. Where are you going? Just stay here. Today, I want to tell you, release your children. Let them go. Don't start saying, my child, ever since they were born, they were in a car. They are living in a big house. How can they go stay in a single room? Where did you start? Where did you start? Let the child start there so that they can appreciate humble beginnings. So in short, for me, the reason for moving is not because somebody is getting married. It's because you are already an adult. Your parents have done their part. Separate yourself, move away. And the parents, please don't be discussing with your children how so-and-so is going to inherit this, another one is going to inherit the other. You have already given them an education. I told my children, there's nothing of yours here. There's nothing. Of course, they don't like hearing. Say, there's nothing. These things I'm giving them to charity. I'm giving them to people who are truly suffering. You work hard, make your own things. Because I started submarine, below sea level. And I've gotten where I've gotten. You have started ground level. I'm on a hill. I've given you an advantage. So you can do better. So please do not ever sit down and start imagining you're dividing my things when I'm alive. No. These things are not yours. Please just work for yours. Of course, if you decide to give your children something, it should be a privilege. It's not a right. It is not something they are entitled to. But they can work for it. That way you even show that you trust them. They have what it takes to get their own things like you do. Good. Anybody else who wants to ask a question or make any comment? I think I've answered all of them.
Thank you, Daktari, for the presentation. We live in society, and more so in the African setup, where the Gen Zs, you said, might not know that. When we were growing up, we were made to understand that we are not our parents alone. We are children born in a family, but we belong to society. And that is why a neighbor would find you making a mistake, punish you, and report that to the parent, and there was no problem. It can't happen now. What is the role of the wider society, or what is the role of the church? Because you've spoken about the role of us parents in bringing up the boy child. What is the role of society, and particularly the church, in the upbringing of these young people? When can it be said that the church has played its role in their upbringing, and when can it be said that maybe the members of the church have outstepped their mandate?
Thank you so much. So research shows that children who are raised in a tribe, they fare better emotionally than those who are raised in individual households. Children are meant to be raised in a tribe, community. I don't mean tribe in terms of ethnicity, but they are meant to be in a tribe, in a community whereby there are a group of adults and there are a group of children. And the children are being parented by this group of adults. That is what research shows, that those are the children who have done better emotionally because they have learned skills from different quarters. You know, as a parent, you can't be everything. You can't have everything. So that's why we tap into each other. And now, because we are in the urban centers and there are many other things, abuse and what, that's why a place like here, church, where we share values, it would be very helpful. There's somebody a group of scientists who did a research among the Maasais in Tanzania. They were wondering because they found the children grew up to be very resilient. So they went to find out what these Maasais were doing differently. They found that the children were being raised in a hut. You know, the men would be in their manyata. Women with young children would be together in a hut. And these children would breastfeed any mother. They didn't know which mother they were breastfeeding. When a child is hungry, you know, there's a woman cooking, another one wherever. When a child is hungry, they would walk to any woman there, any mother, they breastfeed. So children were breastfeeding from any woman there, you know, any mother. So they found that those children grew up feeling emotionally safe and protected and very resilient, and they learned to trust, you know. It was easy for them to trust. Now, let me come closer home. My grandfather had 2 wives. My maternal grandfather, the one I've told you about, he had 2 wives. My grandmother was the younger one. And you know what happens in nature? When women live together, their menstrual cycle gets synced. When women live together, their nature is very amazing. God is amazing. So the menstrual cycle gets synced. So we'll find all the women are on their menstrual cycle at the same time. That happens. So now, and that used to happen even when a man has more than 1 wife. So in my grandfather's household, my grandmother and the co-wife, they were giving birth at the same time. They would give birth, they would get pregnant at the same time, give birth at the same time. So, and they would name their children the same names because they are naming after one person. So we used to wonder, why does my mom have 2 brothers with the same name? So I'm going somewhere with this story. So my mother's stepbrother told me one time that when he was growing up, him and my uncle, they were born the same time, they had the same name. And he told me for a long time, they could either breastfeed my grandmother or his mother. So as young children, they were born in 60s. My uncle told me, he's my mother's stepmother, he said as we grew up with your uncle who later died, we had the same name. They were both called Jomo. You know Jomo Kenyatta? They were born in 63. So both were called Jomo. So we used to say Jomo Wanani na Jomo Wanani. So my uncle said when we were growing up, if one of the mothers is in the shamba, as young boys, we could run to the one who is at home, breastfeed her, both of us. Breastfeeding one on one breast, one on the other. They said they didn't know who the actual mother was to any of them until when they grew older. So when they got to learn, oh, this is actually my bio mother, this is my bio mother. They grew up very close. They grew up like that, you know, very close. I mean, that is, of course, an extreme, but I think a very beautiful version of it. But I'm illustrating that children were meant to be raised in a tribe where there is trust and where there is shared values. The concern that we have nowadays, there is rampant abuse. You know, there are people who actually abuse children. There are even churches I know where pathfinders are taken out for a campori and the children are whipped because they are not matching, so the teacher whips the children. Surely, that's child abuse. There are cases where children have trusted somebody so much as uncle, they have been sexually abused because of that. So that is another side of it. So for me, I want to say we can identify our tribe, even within the church. Randy Skid says the devil works harder in the church. So I also don't encourage people to just throw caution to the wind because we're in the same church and you can let your child go wherever. You can identify people you have shared values. And you can encourage, let your children know that, these are not uncles or aunties, but this is part of the wider family. And they can caution, they can correct them. Because children will always make wrong choices because they are children, not because they are bad children. And sometimes as a parent, when children are complaining to you, you need to know how to handle it. A few weeks ago, my son was telling me he didn't do well in a certain exam. And then he started telling me, the teacher doesn't like me. I cannot be expected to pass in this exam. That teacher doesn't like me. So, of course, he expected me as mother hen to start saying, how can that happen? I'm going to come to school and talk to the teacher. Then I told him, of course, even me, sometimes I don't like you. Even you don't like me sometimes. Even my mother didn't like me sometimes. I don't like my mother sometimes. I told him, even me, my geography teacher didn't like me. And I also decided not to like her, but I passed the exam. So I told him, okay, it's possible for an adult not to like you. Not an adult, but it's possible. You don't like your friends all the time. So I told him, can we talk about how you can still do well in the exam, even during moments when the teacher doesn't like you? He was disappointed. He said, you don't understand me. You know how it feels when a teacher doesn't like you? I said, yeah, it's even worse when your mother doesn't like you at times. It's even worse. So I said, now we are going to talk about what can we do. So I didn't want to focus on whether the teacher likes him or not, because I know he's a human being, and I know the child can also be annoying. And of course, he wasn't saying that the teacher beat him up or anything, but he just said when the teacher is teaching, he likes picking on me. He likes picking on me. I said, but even in families, sometimes you can be picked on. But what can you do? So we talk about what can you do. So sometimes as a parent, when a child comes to you and they are reporting, it's important to just pay attention. Just listen and ask, okay, tell me more about it. Don't say that, me, I will always stand with my child. How can you do this to my child? The moment you act like that, people will stop correcting your child. They will just watch. They'll see your child doing the wrong thing and they will not correct. And eventually, ultimately, you're the one who suffers. So please identify a tribe. Besides that, let me say this. Children belong to parents, okay? Children belong to parents, first of all, before belonging to community. If you're in a church setup and you notice that there's a child who is struggling, please, it's important to always default to the parent, because a lot of these things, problems begin from home. Even us, when we go to do counseling in schools, there are certain things a child will come and tell you and they need counseling, and I will always say I need to talk to the parent first, because the things they are raising are very heavy. And you realize you can intervene, things get worse, and then you will be blamed. So you need to know where your mandate ends. But above everything, don't ever assume that now you are the solution to all the problems of the child. Default, as long as they have parents who are of sober mind. Always just default to the parents so that we are working together. Okay, good. There's a question at the back.
Thank you, Dr. We've been talking about our preacher. There's been any discussions all over. But I think we as parents, we do mess with. First of all, there's that thing we embarked onto them that when you pass, when you get an IA, that's the beginning of your life. We have them starting from career guidance. I think it will be good if we start nurturing them. Here is an example. This boy has passed so well. He has been admitted into an engineering section. For this boy to finish 6 years in an engineering course. And this is the time, after 25 years, this is the time we are going to tell him to start being low or lowering the price for him to start selling vegetables. Because now you want him to do anything. After spending 6 years in education, doing engineering, can class 1 up to maybe 7, madam, it becomes difficult. We've been with these men outside here. It is difficult. Our Kenyan system is not allowing, our Kenyan system is not encouraging at all. Instead of our children finding solutions for the cause they are doing, they're being told to finish college and then employed. What has the society done for this, our boy child who is suffering outside here? 20 years, yeah. During our time, 20 years, it was possible for the boy child to go out. But here is a scenario where a boy child doesn't have, is from engineering. He needs to start a startup. The startup costs up for him to start a startup in engineering. So it becomes so difficult to them to start even the startups which are dealing with their costs. As for me, it's upon us as parents to look into ways where you can nurture your child as early as 10 years. Which career do you want to do? So that by the time the child is being admitted to university, the child already knows where he wants to, what he wants to do. And by the time he ends up doing his university level, he has got the idea of what he wants to do. It will become easier for them to start a startup in that course which they have been doing. But not from the engineer to start selling vegetables because he was not aware when he was doing the degree that he will not have him. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think that is very good advice. And also just to say that for me, what I have learned, people can be more than one thing. People can have many income streams. That's what I've learned the best. That if people, and I've learned that humans are not limited, okay? So if people have different income streams, then when one is dry, they can be able to focus on another one. So the nurture you have said, I completely agree with you, it's good. And also, I wonder whether, did this child want to be an engineer? You know, sometimes us as parents, we can make our children do something that we really wanted them to do. Or sometimes maybe the child does not fully understand what that entails. So mentorship, and for them to really get to understand, is this really what I want to do? How does this look like? It would help. And I can see what you're saying when you talk about, like, we start telling them after that, sell vegetables. And you know, I know there are people who have their careers and they are selling vegetables on the side, and they are doing very well selling vegetables on the side, whatever they choose to do. So having different income streams, I think, is important, and even career mentorship is important. And what I tell my children in university, I normally tell them, it's very few courses in university that people are very busy. It's very few courses. Maybe engineering, maybe medicine, maybe pharmacy, maybe architecture, that people are very busy. A lot of courses in the university, there is free time. And many of our young people, they spend the free time having sex. They would be buying condoms, they will be using all condoms. They will be busy buying morning after pills because they are very busy having sex and watching pornography for many hours, and yet they have a lot of free time in between. And there are some young people using that free time, and they are making millions when they're in university because they are not depending on their parents, so they are using that free time. What I have always told young people, if you cut off too much use of social media, you cut off this business of running after boys and running after girls, because there are no wives in university. There are no husbands in university, I can tell you. Hakuna, these are children who are grappling to settle down. So if you can just focus on doing something, you will actually get opportunities when you're still young, because you can afford to make mistakes. You see, when you're young like this, you can afford to try this and fail. You can afford to try this and fail. It disturbs me when I see young people completing university and they have never earned any money. And imagine they are harassing the parents for upkeep. 50th year, 60th year, 20-something. It robs you of your dignity. You are stressing your parents. That is when you want upkeep. You know, my my daughter was in university, and she told me that she noticed that when first years were coming, they would come in the university, and she's my foster daughter. Because I said I have 3 biological sons, so that someone doesn't say, oh, you didn't tell us you have a daughter. I have a daughter that I've raised. She's completed university, and she didn't come home because she's taking care of herself. So she told me when she arrived in university, she realized that when first years were coming, they would come with their clothes from home. Then they realized the fashion in the university is different. Then they are all going to the market to buy what is worn in the university. So she went on Instagram and got somebody who imports these Mutumba clothes of sweatshirts and what. She made an order. She bought them and she sold to first years and made money. Then she would wear Crocs, and she discovers they're asking her, where did you buy your Crocs? And she went to Kamukunji and bought many pairs of Crocs, and she sold for double the price. And they would buy because they just found Crocs and they bought. How did she identify that? Alika rada. Have your ears on the ground. So she would say, I know freshers are coming, and they'll come with their suits from home. They discover that they need t-shirts. So she would order 100 t-shirts. Within a few days, they are gone. Then order more. So you have to be versatile. Then at some point, she told me that my friends and I, we are getting avocados from Kisii and we are selling. Because currently, everybody is doing intermittent fasting and they are breaking the fast with avocado and a kombucha and I don't know what. And she said, we just got somebody from Kisii. They would buy avocados from Keumbu, from Kisii town, put us a parcel, put in Transline. The following morning, we go there, pick avocados. Then people make orders. We deliver. And I made orders. They delivered for me avocados. So they have bought for 10 bob. They have sold for 20 bob. They would even go to kiosks in Githurai. The people selling in the market, they say, we have avocados. Someone says, bring for me 20, bring for me 30. Just like that, within a few hours, avocados are gone. They have pocketed 3,000. When somebody is still asleep, waiting at my mom has not woken up to send me upkeep. They have already made 3,000. So you see something like that, what I'm saying is, it really would worry me if a child can complete university, even when they are doing engineering. My son is doing architecture, very intense course. But like right now, they are home for 3 months. They were home from June, July, August. They are home for 3 months. And I said, you're home for 3 months. After doing a course, you are not sleeping. So definitely you've been used to working hard. I would get very worried if after 3 months you don't have a shilling. You're waiting to ask me for money for upkeep. I would get very worried. So have we taught our children to also identify opportunities, to also think? Because even that startup requires a lot of commitment. As I said in the morning, if somebody did not learn to get money, it will become very difficult for them to get money later on. My father-in-law told me when our son went to do architecture, he said, during the holidays, let him go to these TVETs and let him do some building technology, something for 3 months. Let him do that artisan so that he can combine it with this architecture and he'll be able to do a lot of things. Of course, he's still considering. But I told him that's a good idea. You can't spend 6 years in university doing architecture. Then when you finish, you're starting to look for a job and somebody is giving you a job for 25,000. And you wonder, you translated and you're earning 25,000. But if you had been equipping yourself with skills, so let our children also be diligent. Let them redeem the time. And let us know, as people say, sometimes we are on our own. I know that we can say the church, the society, the government, but for me, I find like I feel helpless. When I start talking about the church and the government, it makes me feel helpless because there's nothing I can do. So I like saying, just like the story of Noah and Lot, these are the times we are living in. What can I do internally to make it a bit better? Because let me tell you, believe it or not, there are people right now who are languishing, they are struggling in this economy. But there are people who are also making money in this economy and they are not stealing. They are not stealing. There are young people who are making millions and they are buying property in this country and they are not stealing. And there are people who are struggling in this economy still. So even during COVID, you remember during COVID? During COVID, when everybody was stressed, we were told, we need to use, what was that? Sanitizer. You remember? COVID just came And they said, we all need to use sanitizer. How can we get sanitizer? I was in a WhatsApp group, and by virtue of my profession, I'm a pharmacist. That's what I studied first, but I've studied many things. So I'm in a group and people were saying, oh, sanitizer. Then somebody who was working in a pharmaceutical company said, we have some bottles of sanitizer, and everybody was ordering. I just saw that it was over a weekend. Monday morning, 6 a.m., I was in Ruaraka. We used to live in Rongai back then. I woke up at 4 a.m. from Rongai. 6 a.m., I was in the industry in Ruaraka. Nikapanga laini for sanitizers. So I said, what's the maximum sanitizers you can give me? There was a long line. I was given sanitizers. I went on the church WhatsApp group. I posted, I said, I have sanitizers for this amount. People put orders. I said, I can deliver them at church. I can deliver. Let me tell you, by the time I drove from Ruaraka to my home, I had made 35,000 Kenya shillings profit during COVID that morning. When people were panicking looking for sanitizer, I said, Karada, akili mtu wangu. I said, people cannot find sanitizer, but I can go to this industry. I have the gift of waking up early. I got it. I just drove from Ruaraka home. 0 sanitizer, 35,000 Kenya shillings, more orders. Then I was in another group. I had somebody saying, masks from China. I'm in China. I can help you get masks. I said, send me masks. The masks arrived. I sold. So when people are home saying, oh, we are closing businesses, there are no jobs. Me, to be honest, I sold masks. I sold sanitizers. Okay? So sometimes, when you have a mind of thinking, when we focus so much outward, we lose a lot of opportunities because you're focusing on hii kasongo, hii Ruto economy, hii whatever. But me, every day I take a walk in my neighborhood, I see apartments coming up. Every day, you go to the bank, you see people depositing millions. You will say they have stolen, but not everybody has stolen. When we say they have stolen, we just want to make excuse. Not everybody has stolen. People are eating every day. How much do you eat in your house? We are eating every day, 20 avocados daily. Everybody is doing intermittent fasting. These avocados, where are they coming from? There are people doing farming avocados in Moranga, and they are selling, you see. So think about it in that way. While we are waiting for the government, which I don't think anything will ever happen, but I think we need to think about the differences in the families who are more internal than external, because external problems, they will always be there. Thank you so much. Don't know whether there's one more before we call it a day. Okay. Elder, you want to ask? Okay, go ahead. Young people, I want to hear your voice before we end. You cannot just be seated here. You can't be seated here and saying nothing. Okay.
Actually, let me ask this question, and I hope somebody is not going to throw stones at me. Young ladies say there are no men to marry them. Young men say there are no ladies to marry. But because we are talking about young men, maybe this will help somebody. There are many young men who are stable and are able to start life in a proper way, but for some reason, they don't know how to begin. And for that reason, they are continuing to stay with their parents. And because of the African mother, I can't send away my son, so they are comfortable. How can you help such young men? And maybe advice on when is it best for them to start?
You're saying start what? What are they starting?
Start families.
That's good. That's a pregnant question, but I think it's a good one for us to begin. So there are a few things I've been able to identify from what you're saying. Number one is that the parents, the mothers especially, and those sons, they never learned to disconnect. We said that a man has to kill his mother for him to survive. A man has to kill his mother. I don't mean like kill physically. So what I'm saying, a man has to emotionally disconnect from the mother for him to be a man. Those who remain, they are called tied to the mother's apron strings. They struggle, okay? So what I see there, number one, it could be that they never learn to emotionally disconnect. So he's looking up to his mother. And it's also possible that the mother is so emotionally entangled with the son that they are not sending them away. Actually, anytime you see a grown son staying with the mother and they are okay, there's a fundamental problem. There's an issue there. It begins emotionally. That what makes it so okay that I can still be coming home, eating my mother's food, and the mother feeling I can still be taking care of my son. There's a problem there that needs to be addressed. And you have said it well. Such a man will even struggle to approach a girl. You know, there are men who don't even know how to seduce a girl. Effeminate men. There is no that polarity between masculine and feminine is not there. And they start saying, oh, you know, I'm an introvert. But I tell them, you buy clothes. See, you buy clothes. How do you buy clothes? Si ukihitaji nguo si unaenda unanunua. Si hata unabagain. So how is it that you want this girl and you cannot approach her? Do you know that there are women who are married to themselves? There are women who are married with a man, they have children, the man never said, I love you. Do you know that? The man never said, I love you. He never said, I want you. He never said, I want to marry you. He never said anything. The parents just saw you and they said, hey, when are you coming home? They just saw you with the son. You were not even in a relationship. Then the mother said, hey, my daughter, when are you coming home? Imagine hiyo tu ikakutoa kwenu. Then the man never said anything. Then along the way, when he starts pursuing other girls, you start saying, oh, but he's my husband. Your husband where? Did he ever tell you he loves you? Did he ever say he wants you? Did he ever propose anything? He didn't. So you will find now this man is struggling to even start. In fact, even already when you say that man we are not even going to talk about when is the right time. For me, I want to say that he needs to learn skills. Hannah skills. That one does not even have life skills. And even if he got a woman, a girl, a lady, he will be a burden to the family because he has no skills, so he's not ready. That one needs to learn the skills. As I've told you, there are some who go like that and they are there and you're seeing they have jobs. They don't even know how to ask a girl anything. They get married. They cannot be sexually intimate with their wife because they don't even know how to start. Imagine. You think these things happen magically? They don't know how to start. I know one like that. And they tried to talk to him. He didn't even know how to start. So they stayed for almost a year. They're just staying. The wife just said, what am I doing here? She left. And when I was asking her, your husband has not been intimate with you for 1 year. He doesn't know how to start. I said, but did he ever say he loved you? No. Did he ever say, I want to marry you? No. What happened? He said, the mother just said, I'm a good girl and I can make a good wife for the son. And just like that, the wedding was planned. Please, do not ever, because there's trouble downstream. That one needs to learn skills, first of all, how to be a man. Because a man stands on his own. A man separates himself. And for the mother, maybe what I want to say, you are doing a disservice to your son. If you're still staying with your son, you want to check whether his laundry, his clothes are washed, and you're cooking and bringing food to the table, even if he's your only son, you're doing a disservice to your son. Please make it uncomfortable. Make it uncomfortable so that your son can go out there. He needs to be a man. He needs to take care of himself so that now that way he will even have the courage to speak up. So that one needs mentorship, not a wife. Not a wife. In fact, one thing I did not say is when we don't teach our sons to speak up, to even approach a girl, to even say, I need you to pursue, we are creating our sons who think that women are rehabs for badly raised men. You know, women are not rehabilitation centers. Just the same way. Cindy, say amen. Women are not rehabilitation centers for poorly raised men. Just the same way I normally say, men are not poverty eradication projects for lazy women. Yeah, men are not poverty eradication programs that now, you are being lazy because you want baby girl treatment. Give it to yourself. Yeah? So our sons need to take care of themselves. You know that we have our sons who give up very easily. In fact, the way you are describing that situation, that son will get married. They have a disagreement. They pack their things and go back to their mother. You know, there are men who have packed and left their wives because they had a disagreement. Imagine. Then they are packing. The woman comes. They find he packed and he left. He went. Do you know where he goes to? His mother. Ameacha bibi because wame disagree na ameenda kwa mamake. Hapo sasa tukisema hiyo ni umama tutakuwa tukiongea mbaya yake. Sio ni umama sana. Na hiyo si ni umama kabisa. You don't do such a thing. I think I can say that as a woman and people will not get offended. But if a man said umama, will get offended. You say unasema umama ni no, hiyo ni umama. Wacha umasa. You know, you have to speak up and just say, can we talk about this? Let's have conversation. You know, let's talk. You talk through. But some, they just learn to give up. You just give up. So fragile, delicate. You give up, run to your mother. And please, if you have a difference, then let me say this. If you have a disagreement with your partner, please don't go to your mother. Please, your mother took care of you. She's tired now. Stay, resolve your conflict. And if it cannot be resolved, go somewhere, take care of yourself. But don't go back to your mother. What do you expect your mother to do? You know, they'll always side with you, definitely. So they have raised you. So learn skills. That's a fundamental issue, by the way. Skills were not learned. So usiangalie hivi useme huyu anahitaji bibi. Bibi si solution. Huyu anahitaji skills. Because hata kumaintain bibi na kumaintain watoto inahitaji skill set fulani. If some of these women would have given up easily, they would not be in marriages. Wengi wamejioa tu. Some women, you are just watching them, they have married themselves. They are just staying. And then they raise children. Their sons don't learn skills because the women had married themselves. The daughters go, they marry themselves also. Then the pattern continues. What is that we are doing to our children? Yeah? Let's have people married properly and people take responsibility as God ordained. Okay. Is there any more? Maybe then we end. Okay. Okay, Elder, go ahead.
Thank you, sister. What do you do to teenagers who have finished school?
Who have?
Finished school. They are still at your home. Maybe they are earning something, but they depend on your food. They don't soap. So do you sit and make a budget so that everybody contribute? Because these people are at your home, they are still consuming and they are not contributing. and you know, as a parent, you have raised people from childhood and they are now grown up. And they are still eating you. You know, what do you do to them? You make them budget for the food they eat.
And you know they can really consume like locusts. I'm telling you, they can really consume and they want to pick the best. So what I can say is, by the way, and it's not bad when the parents are making teenagers contribute, they are teaching them skills. You know, in some countries, you leave home by the age of 18. If you are staying home, you have to contribute. So what I can encourage is that as a family, you need to agree up to what point. You agree in advance. Up to what point are you going to support the child? You agree in advance. For us in our family, we agreed, and I wrote it down, by the way. I document everything. So in my family, we agreed that as parents, we are supporting the children up to the first degree. First degree or first diploma, whatever, but degree, we said we will support you up to the first degree. If you want to go for second, third degree, we have already given you feet. That one you will take care of it yourself. Even if you start earning when you are still doing your first degree, we will support 100%, even if you start earning. The moment you complete university and you graduate, if you choose to live with us, you will have to take an expense in the house. You must. There's no other way. You'll either take the water, take the electricity, or take to buying food. You will have to take a responsibility. So, our foster daughter chose after finishing, went and rented with a friend. She told me they're living with a friend in a bed sitter and taking care of themselves as they hustle. Then our son said he's now in second year, going to third year. He said when he finishes, can he stay for a year or two I said, so what expense are you going to take? He said, I'll take the water, I take the Wi-Fi and the electricity. I said, fair enough, you will do that. So he knew that he's working towards, he will take care of those for as long as he's living here. But then along the way, he said, I've thought about it, I'm not going to stay with you guys. I said, what are you going to do? He said, the moment I finish, I'll move out. He's finishing, God willing, next year, December. So we put it clear. I wrote it down. I always write. So I said, the moment the guy is finishing, no paying water, no paying electricity, no Wi-Fi, he'll take care. So he has told me, I just wanted to let you know I've considered, and by the time I graduate, I'm moving out. So I'm already shopping for a place to move out. You see? Because me, I just said, no, I'm not helping you. So it's not that I'm being mean or anything. I'm not helping you. So I told them, you guys, I raised you 4. By next year, December, I will only be having 2 people in the house. So if your degree takes 4 years, like the other 2, it was taking 4 years, within 4 years you have left or you're taking up an expense. The other one, the degree will take 6 years. I only support for 6 years. Anything extra, it's up to you. So if for whatever reason you have some, I don't know what, retake, whatever, tafadhali, that's purely up to you. That's why I've said when you have gone to do this degree, it was your choice. You chose it because you had a strength in it. Number 2, I will provide for you 100% so that you don't have to think that, do I have a class, am I going to work? Honestly, if I've done that, there's no reason as to why a 6-year degree should take 7. If it takes 7 because of delays at the university, I understand. But not 7 because you chose to defer to do what? After 6 years, tumeandikiana chini. Like I'm done. Because I'm not helping you. After that, you go. So imagine it is not bad as a parent to agree that my support is up to here. From there, you will take an expense. It's not about how much, but it's about teaching that responsibility. Many times we think that we are helping our children, but we are doing them a lot of disservice. We do them a lot of disservice. Some children get married, they become very wasteful. Very wasteful. They don't know. You know, let me tell you, because we are talking about boy child. As a man, however hardworking you are, however much money you earn, if you are married to a scatterer, my friend, you will retire, go to the village, sit under the tree and die. If your wife is a scatterer, you will never win. Because you will go, you hunt, you gather, she will be scattering. She will be scattering. But if you are earning, you can be earning a modest amount. But you have a wife who is very economical. She knows. She can just see, these oranges are going bad. We can actually squeeze the juice and freeze it and take after some time. If you see her doing that, then you know you have a keeper. And with the little that you are earning, you can build an empire. Okay? So your wife will determine, she's the speed governor, she will determine how far you can go as a family. I went to a certain place, I was doing camp meeting, I was taken to sleep in a certain home. What I saw shocked me. This man was hardworking. He was hardworking and he was coming home late. And this man would shop. I'm telling you, there are Adventist men who can shop. This man will go to the supermarket, he buys what the family needs. Do you know, he would buy bread, freshly baked bread. And the wife knows that they don't eat much bread and they would not finish. Imagine the bread comes and they would throw in the dustbin, it goes bad. Freshly baked bread. It would be there. She's not telling him that, baba nani, ile mkate, usinunue mkate leo. Hata hivyo watoto hawapendi mkate. So he will bring so much bread, they keep it in the shelf. The following day wanatengeneza pancake. Let me tell you, in that garbage bread, imejaa hivi imetupwa. Bread, all manner of different breads, raisin bread, wanatupa kwa dustbin. And then I talked, I don't keep quiet. I said, you guys, why don't you, in your church, you have a caretaker. You have people who are needy in the church. Why don't you see when this bread has a day or two, or not a day or two, but the bread has come, maybe it's a lot, why don't you even go and share with someone in church? They're like, hii mkate hata hakuna mtu atakula. They throw. The man would come with his car full of fruits. Ukiingia kitchen, ndizi zimeoza. They throw. Then I say, why can't you even make smoothie? You can make smoothie out of these bananas and avocados. You can freeze them and eat later. And they were looking at me like I'm a creature from another planet. And this lady was a stay-at-home, And the man was working. I'm telling you, he was working. And I just saw how many millions ultimately were going into the garbage. Now the children have also been taught to throw. So they would just say, hii mkate hata imeharibika, wanatupa. Si dadi ataleta ingine. However much someone earns, honestly, I even think that it's not being a good steward when we throw like that. And I looked and I just said, this woman is not working. This man is the only one that is working. This is a family that is going to go from grace to grass. The moment they retire, you will just see they'll be under a tree waiting to die because they will not have anything. Not because the man has not worked, but because the man has worked, he has hunted. The woman is just scattering with the children. And the children will never learn not to scatter. So please, if you're married, maybe it's too late. To a scatterer, it's too late. She may not change. But please, if you are young, my sons, let me tell you, if you are young and you're marrying somebody and you can see somebody is throwing food in the dustbin and they are feeling nothing, Ata unaana hapa church, they fill their plate. They have served themselves. They have filled the plate and they have thrown food there. And then you still want to go ahead and take that girl to your mother. Are you serious? That is the person you want to take to your mother. The fact that she has thrown food, she can throw much more. So don't do that. You will work. And as Ellen White puts it in the book Counsels on Stewardship, it's stewardship. It's like you're putting treasure in a basket with holes. You just get treasure, you put it, inaenda. You can blame the government, you can blame the church, you can blame anybody, you can blame your ancestors. But at the end of the day, somebody is just scattering, okay? Okay, thanks. I don't know whether there was a Gen Z who wanted to say something, then we end. Do you want to say something of the notes that you have taken? Okay, please say something, then we end. You're the one who will give us permission to end. Okay? What are your thoughts? What you have said or anything you want to ask? Then we end here.
Yeah, so I think it has been a very productive session. I have gathered a lot of insights. Most importantly, as both young people, both ladies and men, to be self-dependent and to, strive to have a footing. There's something that I had in mind that has imenitoroka, but yeah. It was a productive session.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you so much. Then I just want to say, please, if you are busy looking for a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, partner, and you're not financially stable, and you're depending on your parents to buy for you sanitary products, please stop that from today. Stop that from today. I'm just saying, not to you alone, but I'm just saying, please take care of yourself. You don't have to be that you manipulate and complain that your parents buy you soap and then you are busy. Nataka kurusha mistari. Hiyo mistari enda urushe kwa job market ama kwa marketplace so that at least you can take care of yourself. When you take care of yourself, you have a say. You have power. You don't give your power completely to other people. So it's my prayer. You want to say, okay, just say then.
Yes, I think when you were having the discussion on young people being self-dependent and all these